Hello everyone, my name is Hue Lee, and today's lesson we're going to talk about an introduction to function, and this video is for the students who were absent yesterday. The California state standard for our function is understanding that a function from one set called the domain to another set called the range, a set assigned to each element of the domain exactly one element of the range. If f is a function and x is an element of x domain, then f of x denotes the output of f corresponding to the input x. The graph of f is the graph of the equation y equal f of x. The lesson objective for the day will be student will be able to identify and explain what a function is. So what is a function? A function can only have one output for each input. So it's denoted as f of x equal y of x, y. Domain is the input of a set in a function, and it's denoted as x. And then the range is the output of a set and its function in a function, and it's denoted as y. So for the definition here, we're going to jump into a function table. So in this function table, we're going to be identifying the domain and the range. So from what we learned earlier, the domains are the inputs. So from this table, you can see that the domain is over here, and these are the elements of what's in the domain. So the domain will be, for this table, it would be 2, 4, 6, and 8. And the range for this will be the output, which is 4, 8, 12, and 16. So when we look at this kind of function, we can see that every time we have an x, we plug it back into the equation. So we'll go over here for that x, and when we do that, we notice that we'll get the output of 4. So if we do the same thing for 4, we'll get 8, and the same thing for 6, we'll get 12, and for 8, we'll get 16. So that's how you identify the domain and range for this function table. Now on to an example. So for this example right here, we have a function which is f of x. So this question is asking, let f of x equal f of x, 5x. So the question is asking is, what is the function value for 1, 2, 3, and 4? So we could do the same thing what we did earlier. We could draw a function table. So we could draw, we know that our inputs is our domain and our output is our y's. So we can just put x here and put y here, and now we can start our table. So in order to find what our input and output are, so the question is asking what the value will be if we put in 1. So from that, we notice that 1 will be one of the inputs that we have to put into this function. And when we do that, we put, the function will say f of 1 equals 501. So we're technically just replacing the 1 with the x. So when we do that, we solve for it, we get that f of 1 is 5. So our input will be 1, and the output for 1 will be 5. So that's one of the input. Now we have to solve the same thing for the value of 2. So we'll get f of 2 equal f of 2 times 2. So when we solve for f of 2, we get that 5 times 2 is 10. So our input for 2 will get an output of 10. and now we do the same thing for 3. Now we get f of 3 equals 5 times 3, and f of 3 equals 15. So our input for 3 will give the output of 15. So same thing for the last value that we're looking for. So it'll be f of 4 equals 5 times 4, and f of 4 will equal 20, because we know that 5 times 4 is equal to 20. So we know that our input will be 4 and our output will be 20. So when we do that and put in for each single one of the value, for this function, we get the output of 1 will get us the output of 5, 2 will get us the output of 10, and 3 will get an output of 15, and 4 will get us the output of 20. Alright, so now that we understand what the domain and range and how a function work, and we're gonna go into the activity that we did yesterday in class. So the activity was everybody in the group got to work on a poster with a group, make a group of 4, and work with a group with your group member. So you had to come up with your own function. So for example, I just came up with this function, f of x equal x plus 2. Right, so once you come up with your group, you guys have to come up with a function that you guys want to work with. You have to come out with your inputs and your outputs. So these number could be any number you want. It could be your favorite number, your birthday number, any number that you want it to be, as long as it's relevant. So for me, I'll just do an example, make it easy. I just go 2, 4, 6, 8, and just go even number. Right, so for this, I know that my input, I got 2. So when I put the input 2 in for x, I know that the 2 will replace the x. So f of 2 equals 2 plus 2, which I'll get 4. So I know my output will be 4 when I put the input 2, and same thing when I do for f of 4. So f of 4, I'll get 4 plus 2, which is 6. So f of 4 will give me an output of 6. And when I do the same thing for f of 6, I'll get 6 plus 2 equals 8. So f of 6 will give me 8. And then for the last value, if I get the input of 8, so f of 8 equals 8 plus 2, I'll get 10. So f of 8 will give me 10. So now that I found my inputs and outputs for the number I came up with my group, now I'll talk to my group member, and we'll explain on our poster board how we came up with our idea of the function and our outputs, our inputs and outputs. So each input will have their own numbers. So each student will have their own inputs for it. So like I said earlier, it could be any number they could think of, like the favorite number, the birthday number, the date, or any number they want to put. And then as long as they plug it into their function and make sure they get output, then all they had to do at the end of the bottom of their paper, they will just have to explain what their domain is and how they came up with that, and then what was the range for each of the inputs they got when they put in. And if you have any question or need any help, you could just look at the website online or email me or contact me, and I'll be free to get right back at you. And I hope to see you in class tomorrow and you get caught up. All right, thank you.